Hi friends, welcome back to Parnika tutorials. In this video, we will discuss about components and different types of components like functional components and class components. So I sincerely request everyone to watch the complete video for better understanding. In React, components represents a part of the user interface. You know that using React we can develop the user interface. So each component represents the part of the user interface. In React generally we have 5 components. Out of the 5 you'll have 4 basic components like header, side nav, main content and footer, and then we have the fifth component. It's called as root component or app component. This root component or app component contains the other components such as header, side nav, main content and footer. However, all the components come together to make the entire application because each component represents the part of the user interface. If you combine the header, side nav, main content, footer, then only we can make an entire React application. So I can say that all the components come together to make the entire React application. Components are reusable, meaning is that the same component can be used with different properties to display the different information. Let me discuss with a simple example. You have the side nav component. The side nav component, we can use the different property for the left side nav and right side nav. So same side nav component, using the different properties, you can have the left side nav and right side now. So I can say that components are reusable. The same component can be used with different properties to display the different information. Let's discuss how does a component translates the code in our application. The component code usually written in the JavaScript file. Already you know that we have the root component or app component. The root component, you have the app.js file. If you want to verify, let me go to the Visual Studio, and if you go to the Hello World project, in that one you can see that we have the app.js. This app.js is the JavaScript file represents the app component. So I can say that the component code usually written in the JavaScript file. In React, we have two types of components. One is the stateless functional component, and then we have the stateful class component. Now let me discuss about the stateless functional component. Functional components are literally JavaScript functions. They return HTML which describes the user interface. Already we know about the JavaScript function. How can we use the JavaScript functions? We need to define the function and then we need to call the function. How can we define a function? You will use the function keyword, function name, and then you will have the list of optional parameters, and within the curly braces you will write the statements. If you want to execute the statements, you will call the functions. And then in functions we can even have the return statement. Return statement is useful for you to return the some value or some string or anything to the function calling statement. So JavaScript functions will return the certain content. In functional components also you'll have the JavaScript functions. They return the HTML which describes the user interface. Let me discuss the functional component with a simple example. First I need to define a function, right? So I need to use the function keyword where f should be in lowercase, and then you will need to provide the function name. Here I am providing the function name as fun, and then I want to return a HTML code. So I need to use the return keyword, and then I want to return the HTML code which consists of h1 tag having the information welcome to Parnika tutorials or welcome Parnika tutorials, and then I will close the h1 tag. So this HTML code I want to return. So like this you will define the JavaScript functions to provide the functional components. On the other hand, we have the stateful class component. The class component consists the classes that extends the component class from the React library. A class can inherit the another class, right? So here the class extends the component class from the React library. In functional components, you will have the JavaScript functions. In the class components, you will have the class which extends the component class from the React library. Every class component consists of a render method. This render method returns the HTML code. In functional components, inside the function definition, you are returning the HTML code which describes the user interface. Similarly, in the class component, you will have a class. Inside the class, you will have the render method which returns the HTML code which describes the user interface. Now let me discuss in detail about the functional component. A functional component is a JavaScript function that already I have discussed, which accepts a input of properties, or I can say prep, and returns the HTML which describes the user interface. Already you know that a functional component is just a JavaScript function which returns the HTML code which describes the user interface. A functional component is a JavaScript function that accepts the input of properties. Properties you can write in a shortcut as PREP, and returns the HTML code that describes the user interface. Now let me discuss the functional component practically with an example so that it will be clear for you. Let me go to the Visual Studio and then I will go to a project called example1. In this project, I will go to the src folder and then I will go to the app.js. What the app.js represents? It represents the app component. In this one, you can look at here, we have the function called app which is returning some HTML code. What I will do is that I will remove the entire code except the outer div tag. So I will have only div, class name is equal to app, and then I will have the close div tag. And then in the src, I will create a new folder, and the folder name you can give anything. I will give the name as components. And inside this folder, I will create a new file and I will keep the name as Parnika.js. It is better to have the first letter in the capital letters. In Parnika.js, I will write import React from React, and then I will write function fun where F should be in capital letters, and then I will write return h1 welcome to Parnika tutorial. This fun component is returning the HTML code. You can say that this is a functional component because it is a JavaScript function which returns the HTML code. Now you will think that we will get the output as welcome to Parnika tutorials. No, the HTML content welcome to Parnika tutorials is not going to render in the browser. Why? The fun component is not connected with the rest of our application. What is the application we are using? Example1 React application. So this fun component is not connected with the example1 React application. So we need to connect it. How can we connect this? We need to import the fun function from the Parnika.js, import it into app.js, and then include it in the app component. How can we do is that first we need to export the fun function from the Parnika.js. How can we do is that we have export default and then I can provide the fun. So you can have multiple functions. Out of that one function you can export by default. Other functions also you can export. How it will be done, I will discuss it little bit later. Then once I have exported the fun function from Parnika.js, I need to import it into the app.js and then include in the app component. In the app.js, I can remove this import logo from this logo.svg, and then I can write the statement as import fun from, where is this fun function is there? In the components. So I will use /components folder. Inside the components folder, you have Parnika.js. So in Parnika.js file, you have the fun. Where is the Parnika.js? In the components folder, you have the Parnika.js. So you can remove the .js. You can simply provide the folder name and the file name. From that file, you need to import the fun function. And then inside the div tag, you can provide the fun open tag and the close tag. So that is the name of the function, right? So that's why you need to provide the fun open tag and fun close tag. Now let me save this app.js and then Parnika.js. Then I will go to the new terminal and then I will execute this React application. So what I need to do, I need to go to the example1 folder. So I have written cd example1 and then I need to type npm start. Now you can see our React application is up and running. And you got the output as welcome to Parnika tutorials. This is what we want to display, right? You can observe here. What is this fun function is returning? It is returning welcome to Parnika tutorials inside the h1 tag. So you got the output welcome to Parnika tutorials with the help of h1 tag. So if you observe, the functional component fun has been executed properly. But generally, in place of functions, we will use the arrow functions to define the functional components. Already in the JavaScript, I have discussed what is an arrow function and how can we write the arrow function. So in place of this one, I will write the similar statements with the help of arrow functions. So what I will do, I will provide const and the function name is what? Fun. I will use the equal operator, and as you does not have any parameters, you will open the braces and close the braces, and then you will provide the arrow operator, and then you can write the return statement. In the arrow functions, if you have only one return statement, you can avoid the return keyword. Whatever you want to return, that you can write here. What is the thing I want to return? Welcome to PT using arrow functions I will write, because you need to get different output, right? Otherwise, if I simply say welcome to Parnika tutorials, lot of people will think whether this program is working or not. They will get the doubt. And now I have exported this one. Let me save this one, and if you observe, let me refresh this one. If I refresh, you can see we got the output as welcome to PT using arrow functions. And one more thing you can do, as I have exported the fun function as a default one, in app.js, in place of fun, you can take any other name. You can take fun 1 2 3 and then you can have fun 1 2 3 fun 1 2 3. Let's see what will happen. I have saved this one, and then let me go to the browser. Okay, what I will do in the Parnika.js, I will simply write welcome to PT so that you can observe the change. Let me save this one, and app.js also let me save it, and let me go to the browser and let me refresh it. See, we got the output as welcome to PT. Now we will have more functions in the Parnika.js. Let me go to the Visual Studio. In Parnika.js, I will have more functions. All the functions I will use arrow functions. Const fun1 is equal to, I will not have any parameters, so I will open the braces and close the braces, and I will provide the arrow operator, and then I will use the h1 tag. Any tag you can use, and then I will write like, share and subscribe, and then I will close the h1 tag, and by default you can export only one function. So what is the function you are exporting by default? Fun. Then you can ask me, sir, how can I export this fun1 function also? Before the const you need to write export. Then you can ask me what is the difference between the export default and only using the export. And you know that only one function we can by default we can export. And if you have multiple functions, among the multiple functions, one you can make it default, and others you can use the export keyword to export it. What is the difference is, as I said earlier, if you observe, by default you are exporting fun, you have changed the name as fun123. That you can do for the default functions if you are exporting it. But other functions, if you are just exporting, you cannot change the name. So what you need to do is that you need to import within the curly braces, you need to provide fun1 from dot components and then Parnika, and then you need to have fun1 open tag and close tag. Here spelling we have done capital U, we have given small. Let me save this one and then let me save this one. Now let me go to the browser and let me refresh it. We got the output already. See, welcome to PT, like, share and subscribe. So like this we can define multiple functions. Out of the multiple functions, one function you can export by default. I don't want to export anything by default. I want to export everything using the export keyword. Then in app.js you should use fun only, and within the curly braces you need to provide, and then here also you need to provide fun, and here also fun. First I need to save the content in Parnika.js and then app.js. If I refresh it, I will get the output. Welcome to PT, like, share and subscribe. So if you have multiple functions, out of that one function you can export default, and other functions you can export with the help of export keyword, or you can export all the functions using the export keyword also. If you are exporting any function using the export keyword, whatever the function name you have provided in the component Parnika.js file, the same one you need to import in the app.js. So with this one, I hope you have understood what is a component, what are the types of components like stateless functional component, stateful class component. In detail I have discussed about the functional component. In the next video I will discuss about the class component, and I will discuss the difference between the functional component and the class component. Thank you for watching the complete video. If you have any doubts, feel free to ask me in the comment section. I will try to clear your doubts as early as possible.